and welcome to this day 2 of week 4 of the OPL. My name is Michael Hingising, and I'm joined here by Carbon and also Choo Choos. And it's a big exciting day full of 2 games. Carbon, how you feeling after the big win yesterday?
Yeah, good. Always good to get a good win. We were happy with the 2-0. We haven't got a 2-0 yet.
First
so
2-0 of the season.
Yeah, first 20. So very happy with that. Finally get the 3 points.
Excellent stuff.
It's good stuff.
Meanwhile, Choo Choos, you saw your former team take a victory yesterday.
Thanks, mate.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Finally, 2-0. We needed
You've
those.
backed up. You've backed up on the desk today.
You guys
as
are
well.
the only team that are now 4 wins, 0 losses, but you're 3rd on the rankings.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a real injustice, isn't it? According to
Any other facts you got?
All right, let's take a look at yesterday's results, shall we, as we bring them up on your screen. As we said, Legacy beat Redside 2-0, but AV, despite the doubters, were able to take a game off Direwolves, which is kind of big news.
Yeah.
Though it will mean that for the time being, Direwolves remain top of the table, because today, even if Chiefs can 2-0 TM, Direwolves have the head-to-head over Chiefs, so we'll still take the top. And then Sin versus AE, I should say, is how we're going to round out the day. And that is a spicy game, because I reckon that is going to be a very defining game for the end of split rankings and going into Gauntlet.
Yeah, well, it's probably a little bit early to be looking at the ladder. There are a lot of things that can still happen, but I would say that this is like a kind of a pre-Gauntlet match. These are 2 teams who really want that 5th spot in the Gauntlet, and I think this is like the first step for them to decide like who's going to get it.
Absolutely. Let's start today with TM taking on Chiefs. Obviously, Chiefs hot favourites coming into this, and we were talking about this before, and it's like Chiefs at the start of the year, right? They went to Korea, and they spent a bit of time over there. And then we're kind of waiting for this career buff to kick in. You also got, remember, Jish coming back from NA as well.
I kind of relate their situation to Direwolves. When Direwolves went to Korea at the start of the year, they came back and won Split 1. Chiefs did the same thing. They went to Korea, but we haven't really seen that resurgence, and we haven't seen them really pop off until really last week, where Swiffer and Raze are the only 2 players that have really stepped up this split.
To be fair though, like only 3 of them went to Korea. That's like important to note. That was Spooks, Swiper, and Ejim went to Korea.
Yeah.
And their best players are the 2 who stayed home. So
what's your take on that,
what are you saying about that, Tim?
Here for other OPL teams, if you're looking at this, do not go to Korea. Trust me, it's a bad idea.
Stay home.
I'm still going there.
All right, let's talk about their opposition today as well then. And I want to focus in on 2 players in particular. The first is Shock, the mid laner for TM. In fact, he's taken your old spot on the team there, Choo Choos.
Yeah.
And what do you think? How's his game been so far this split?
It's pretty underwhelming. I think he hasn't really played to his strengths. I've known him as a Zilean and Syndra. I think his Syndra's brilliant. But he's been playing the Orianna. He had a very good showing on Orianna. But the Karma game was a bit shaky. So I would like to see him bring back his traditional picks. Yeah.
I think that certainly on the Syndra, I think he could have an impact today. On the Zilean as well. Not sure how much experience Swiffer has against Zilean.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like his pool is so shallow, and Swiffer's been such a good player for so long. He can play pretty much everything. He's played through so many
Kind
metas.
of feels as if Shock doesn't get on one of his comfort champions, Swiffer will with his performance from last week, we'll just roll over him.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if you are Cyclone, the coach of TM, and you're wanting to find bans, if you're Jish and you're wanting to find bans against Cyclone, I mean, are you going to ban out? Are you going to try and ban out Shock?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Or do you focus your bans towards Only? Because Only, as we've seen, Carbon is maybe potentially the carry threat for this team.
Absolutely. I'll definitely agree with that. I reckon Only is probably the best player on that team, at least the most impactful, and I think he's been responsible for a lot of their wins. That being said, the jungle pool right now is pretty big. There's not really anything, like you can't really ban a jungler out right now.
Yeah.
I would say like as a red side team, which I think Chiefs are, like if you ban away like the Zac is a pretty big one, and then the Elise, like that's probably all you can really afford to a ban. And Only is good enough. We've seen him on the Lee Sin and
On the Nidalee,
we've seen his Rek'Sai. We have seen his Nid. I don't think Nid is a good idea. I don't think you should play Nid today.
Yeah.
But I think that like Rek'Sai, Lee Sin are both good champions that he can play.
Gragas?
I've seen him play it in solo queue. I don't know if he plays it.
His
in
playstyle to
competitive.
me is similar to Levi from Gigabyte Marines. He does the very unpredictable lane ganks, and champions like Rek'Sai and Gragas can really utilize that kind of pathing.
Yeah, he's a really good like ganking jungler, but he doesn't sack. Like he plays, I don't want to say he plays for himself. He's not selfish in that sense,
Sure.
but like he doesn't put himself behind to gank, which like I would do, for example.
You're
But he
a-
doesn't do that, and I think that's a great quality to have.
You're a leader of men, though, Carbon. We can't expect everyone else to have the sacrificial jungling role that you take.
Now, look, my standard's a little bit different than what Only's are, but I will say that I think Only is a good player, and I like the way he plays.
All right, the other storyline I want to focus in on going into this game is obviously Cyclone, the coach of TM. Formerly has worked with the Chiefs last split. He's actually moved across to TM now, taking on that coaching role. And Jesh has returned from North America to coach the Chiefs. And Choo Choo's, I mean,
The jacket.
he was
Yeah.
the performance coach for Chiefs.
Yeah, it's surprising to see. This matchup was definitely interesting in that angle, but I'm very curious to see what he actually learns from Chiefs and what he can bring to team. I'm sure he's learned something, but as you said, he wasn't actually the strategist; he was a performance coach. So in that sense, I'm really curious as to how this match plays out. What he chooses in the pick ban.
Yeah, like you said, I don't think he has like the silver bullet for Chiefs. I think that he would have learned some things definitely, but I don't think he's got like the kryptonite that'll just 2-0 the series for them.
He knows a series of secret words that if you put them into chat in the lobby, it actually makes
Just
each
sleeper
Sleeper
Yeah.
agents.
It activates the sleeper agent Egypt.
Agent just stands up halfway through the game, just
go.
walks out.
All right, let's take a look at Cyclones TM now, shall we? As they're getting ready right now
Teagun
in
giggling.
the
Teagun,
lobby,
good jokes, man.
listening in. Their top laner is Praedyth, who has actually been on this team, I think, the longest out of anyone now. Their jungler is Only, who we already spoke about. Their mid laner is Shock. Their AD carry is Low, and their support play is the Goon, or AKA T-Gun, who he was on the desk yesterday, and he said it was cautious optimism, I believe was the words he used going into this game.
I think that's a good way to look at it. I think TM could take a game, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to win this series, but I definitely think they are good enough to take a game, and I think cautious optimism is a good mentality, is a good approach to it.
I think Jish said that they are the only OPL team to have shown a steady improvement. So it's I
He said that about his own team.
No, he said that about Tatum
Oh,
Myers.
okay, yeah.
TM, not
Okay.
Yeah,
not
so
Chiefs.
with that, like, I don't know what they're doing at the house, but I would like to think that today I would love to see them pull a game of Chiefs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, you.
I'd love to see him take 2.
I know you would.
Shit, I'd
Yeah.
love to see him
Actually,
take
I'd
3 if
love
they
to
could.
see
Very biased desk here today. And speaking of the Chiefs, those guys right now getting ready in their room. And let's take a look at their lineup, shall we? Their top laner is Swiper. Their jungler is Spooks, who paired with their mid laner Swiffer was on the Penta last time that was made.
Spooks and Swiffer.
Yep. Their AD carry is Raze, the self-proclaimed best player in OS, and Ejim is their support player. Still rocking the dark hair, which I will say I'm a fan of.
Growing on you?
I'm a fan of the hair. I'm a fan of the haircuts. I'm liking it. But
You
I don't
like-
know if you saw this. Did you guys see this on social media? Swiper and Raze did a little video previewing this.
I did see that, yeah.
Raze claimed that Low, his AD carry opponent on TM, is the worst AD carry in the league. His words, not mine. And then Swiper very specifically said, look, Praedyth used to be on Chiefs Black, and when he was there, I gave him a lot of advice, which he didn't listen to, and it hurt my feelings. So
It's not nice to hurt people's feelings. I'll open with that. But very quickly, I will say that Raze, with the sneaky, what I would call a sneak compliment as opposed to a sneak diss to Chenny Boy,
oh,
right? Because I thought it'd be pretty obvious that Chenny was the bottom,
did
but
I.
if he reckons Low is, then props to Chenny, I reckon. What do you reckon, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm a fan of Chenny, but
Let's not talk about Chenny.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Low.
Chenny was here yesterday. But yeah, for
played well yesterday.
For
played
Swiper,
all right.
yeah, he did all right. Swiper, though, said, yeah, he played all right
He
against you
played
guys
all right.
yesterday. I mean, yeah, Swiper said, look, I gave a lot of advice to Praedyth. He didn't listen to it, hurt my feelings. And then a kind of a cryptic thing, he said, I met him in a solo queue game. He said some mean things to me, and he wants to, quote-unquote, punish him today. Which is, yeah, very stern words from Big
What a brutal
Swips.
word, isn't it?
Punish him.
Punish.
I will punish you.
Don't, please.
No, you don't have to. It's not between the two of you. But do you think this top lane matchup has much? Because you know how Praedyth plays, right? He wants to get on a split push. He wants to spend a lot of time TPing back to lane.
I mean, he did solo kill. Praedyth did solo kill Tally last week.
Did he?
Yeah, the Camille.
We didn't play last week. We played against.
Sorry,
couple
not
weeks
last
back.
week.
Vietnamese
Yeah,
team.
yeah. It's before Regicide where they versed you guys. He he had a good Camille performance.
Oh yeah, no, he did too. Yeah,
Yeah,
with the
so-
flash. Yeah, I remember that.
So
yeah,
maybe he
All right.
won't get punished.
I think Praedyth are pretty good. I think that stylistically, they're very. like I can understand why Praedyth wouldn't listen to him. I think they're almost polar opposites in the way they play. Praedyth never wants to leave lane. He wants to split push to victory. But Swiper's the opposite. He wants to...
All right, well, bearing all that in mind then, let's get some predictions from you guys. Carvin, let me start with you. Who's going to be winning this? And can TM take a game?
I think Chiefs absolutely will win this game. I think they're the better side. That being said, I do agree with Jish in that TM have improved pretty much every week, and I think they can take a game 2-1.
I agree completely.
Really?
I would love to see a 2-1, but I do feel it'll be a 2-0 today to Chiefs.
All right, well, let's take a look at your tips at home, then opltips.com.au. And I will say, mamma mia, mamma mia. Aaron Chuchuzman, I believe you are the favourite right now because 63% of people think that it's going to be a 2-0 in favour of the Chiefs, and it's a 94 to 5.8 split in terms of who's going to take the series.
Can I just point out quickly that Aaron opened with I agree
I
completely
agree.
and then
Yes.
said 2-0,
Yes,
which is in fact not what I said.
Classic pivot. We'd like to get...
They may get a game. They
All right.
may
Yes,
get
you
a
don't
game.
agree completely.
Well, if you're watching this at home, and we'd love to get your opinions and thoughts as well, hashtag IMOPL or @OPL. And if you have any questions specifically about the draft, we're going to run a segment after the game with your analysts to answer those. So please tweet your questions about the draft, hashtag IMOPL. But it is time for us to get into our first match and first game of the day with the casters, Spawn and Fish.
Thanks, Singers. I'm Matthew Stewart. Joining me is Jake Beardless, Spawn, Tiberium, about to get into the first game of today. Do you know
Do you know what happened?
No, I don't know what happened.
So I was trying to trim the beard up yesterday because that's what I do, get rid of the neck beard, make sure and then I just went straight through the mow and I was like, well, that's ruined it. I have to get rid of everything. I am actually very upset that we are not the only bickering couple on today's show. Unfortunately, invited two of the old Legacy boys onto the desk, two of the old Avant-Garde Ascension boys onto the desk from way back when, and they're taking our role as a bickering couple Fish.
Yeah, Aaron Chuchus Bland and Tim Carbon Wendell.
Two of the all-time greats. Two of the all-time greats
Oof,
of the
there was-
Oceanic scene.
There was a lot of tension on that desk. Don't know quite how Hingers feels about all this so far. Hopefully he's all right.
Nah,
Let's
he
give him a
gave us
thumbs
the
up.
perfect signs. He absolutely loves it. Talia, Zach, taken off the board. Want to talk about only a little bit. I said to Low, because I think that they're going to counter-pick mid lane. I said to Low, I walked past him, I just said, pick Zillion. And it was funny, because I think now he thinks I think he's shocked, but I don't. I just wanted him to pick Zillion. So, well, you're going to watch this later. I don't think you're shocked. Please still pick Zillion. Anyway, what I was going to talk about is Only is such a good hard carry jungler, and Spooks does give respect to junglers. We saw this all of Origin when these guys were playing against each other. Spooks will respect Only's early ganking path, so I think that, Only does have to get on something that can team fight, because this isn't a game where you can hard farm, hard gank your way to victory. You do have to be able to take it to him in team fights as well.
And we know Only can play this team fight in junglers. When he's picked up Zac, especially at Origin, he showed good performances on the champion. But his niche picks have always been those hard-carrying solo junglers. So curious to see what else he's going to be able to deviate towards. Maybe it's going to be Rek'Sai.
That was kind of funny at Origin, huh? Because we were like, I was the person that was like, I've never seen him play Zac. Let's just give it to him and see how it works out. And he absolutely torched our team. So, yeah, I respect the Zac ban, but nothing else being thrown towards him. Lee Sin, Gragas, Rek'Sai, all still available.
Yeah, curious to see what TM are going to pick up as their first pick. And just going through those bans quickly, because there are a couple of unorthodox ones. Talia as well as Rakan being banned out very quickly. Elise is the final ban there. Braum being banned out by the Chiefs as well as Caitlyn and Zac. With that TM first pick, Thresh. I quite like this.
I mean, it makes sense. They're just going to get Tahm Kench. I mean, Ejim's been a very big proponent that Tahm Kench is the outright counter. Could be Swiper, could be Swiffer's champion. I haven't seen Swiffer play all that much of it, so I would expect it to be more of Swipers.
I mean, potentially we could see Ejim pick it up as well. We know there are a couple
Yeah,
of support Galio players.
Ejim is not a support Galio person.
Well, let's see what he decides to pick up later on in the match. So far, very curious draft. Both Thresh and Galio left open with a Braum ban to kick things off. Kalista was the pick for Raze.
And I'm thinking about this, like, now there is an opportunity that you can out and out just take Fiora and throw the gauntlet for Swiffer to be able to play Galio. So we'll see whether that does work out.
Instead, we're going to get another Tristana game to go up against the Kalista. You were talking a little bit yesterday about how this does well into the matchup.
Yeah, the 1 and 2 auto attack trades, with the Satchel, just does well against the Rend. It actually does more damage at the earlier stages of the game. Obviously, you don't get the Rend sets, and there it is, straight away.
Prophet Spawn lost the beard, gained all the knowledge. picks up Fiora in the top lane for Praetor.
By the way, this is Swiffer's Galio. There's no way. He is 100. Swiffer is 100% playing Galio. There is no way that the Chiefs are silly enough to pick Galio with Fiora still available in a long lane.
Oh.
That is suicide fish. That is wanting to go down at least 3 kills in the laning phase.
Ooh, we get another Alistar as well. So already straight back from Rift Rivals, and the meta has been shaken up quite a bit.
I should have just stuck to my guns. I was watching a game this morning of solo queue. It had all 5 Chiefs members. It had Only in there. He was playing Bard. That's why all the Bard hovers are coming out right now. And Ejim was playing Alistar. So, and the Chiefs are big fans of actually playing what they were actually, playing in solo queue that morning, which means that Kled is probably going to be what Swiper goes towards, because that's what he had in that game.
I'm curious to see how that goes against Fiora, because Fiora does have many great matchups. There's very few matchups that she loses out, right out.
I mean, Renekton is a definitely hard matchup.
That's going to be banned out by TM straight away. At least it was the ban that came out from the Chiefs.
Yep.
So there's still a lot of respect being thrown towards Only's champion pool. Gragas still yet to be picked up by either team. We're going into the 4th and 5th picks soon. Nidalee is the 5th ban coming out from the Chiefs.
And this is just, this is smart. This is them absolutely not respecting Shock's champion pool, saying you can pick whatever you want. Swift is one of the old school Zilean players actually in Oceania, so he's not going to be surprised by Shock. And saying, we're going to attack only. If you don't priority pick jungle, then your best player is not going to be able to play his best champions.
Do like Cyclone's drafts though. So far with TM, final ban is going to be LeBlanc. A lot of times Zilean has been left open. We think maybe this is going to be the day we see Shock pick up Zilean again. Most of the time goes back towards the Orianna, something more meta favor. And now Chiefs will be able to get first pick in this rotation. TM will have to complete their squad shortly after, and Sejuani
Funnily
has been
enough,
picked up.
in the game this morning, Spooks was playing Sejuani as well.
We saw it threw a spanner in the works in the Direwolves against Avant game, where AV were able to pick up a victory with Sejuani picked in the jungle.
So whoever they do play top lane, if we are saying that this is a, last pick top laner, needs to be able to dish out damage. It needs to be a Kled, it needs to be a Jarvan, something along those lines. Because so far they've got a 3 beefy tank frontline and a Kalista only.
Because this is the exact same comp we saw, or similar comp that we saw from the Direwolves, where you have 3 frontlines. They tried to throw Kog'Maw into it, didn't work. Let's see what they decide to pick out later on. Gragas has been locked in though.
TikTok Shock.
So Only will pick up a more team fighting based jungler.
This makes a lot of sense. I mean, they've actually got a lot of damage threats already. You can play Zilean and he can make Fiora actually not a bad team fighter.
And it's locked in. Shock's one-trick champion that he was known for before he joined the OPL has been locked in for TM.
I'm excited about this game. I actually think that both drafts were very reasonable. I think that this is going to be a Kled or a Kennen lock-in. And I think that both of these teams are, actually set up for pretty good success. Ooh, Nah.
Pick's going to be Nah. Swiper picks it up to go against the Fiora. Makes sense.
So Jish was really vocal at Rift Rivals that Nah was the best blind pick now on the patch. That had received the buffs. Frozen Mallet, Black Cleaver, very good split pushing. Still, when you go Mega, you have a very hard time against Fiora. In Mini Gnar, of course, you can annoy the heck out of her. As the game progresses, you get some good items and you're able to go toe-to-toe. They have a very good team fighting comp. Gnar, if he goes double offensive builds in the Black Cleaver as well as the Frozen Mallet, is a little bit more of an offensive threat. And we'll see how it works out, because right now I don't see anyone being able to go toe-to-toe, but they have all the ability to force team fights.
I really like Cyclone's drafting here as well, because, again, TM drafting towards their split push, which they're very well known for. Predator looked very greedy in the first few weeks of the OPL.
And how do you... So I like their draft. I just don't know how you get them off the dive. You've got Alistar that's going to fly in there with the ulti. You've got Galio that's following up. You've got a Sejuani. I mean, there is just so many threats to get people underneath the turret that I don't know if they have enough damage or enough threat in response to be able to repel that. And that's with a Tristana, a Gragas Cask, as well as a Thresh play. So
do you just hang Tristana out as bait and then hope that, Zilean revives her, you throw out the Dark Passage, bring her back to safety?
I mean, if that's your game plan, mate, that is a unique and brave strategy listed from Fish right now.
Ooh, let's see what happens. TM, you can take some notes of me, just give me credit
I like
afterwards.
the shirt, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Is it Tinikun? The coach?
Tinikun? Yes.
He was also rocking those shirts at Rift Rivals.
Yes, he was.
I actually said, I have to apologize, I said during Rift Rivals that he wore it better. I don't know if that's necessarily true. New beard coming out as well, Fishy?
No, this needs to go. I've already been warned by the producers once. I think second time's going to be a firing, so I'm a bit scared about that. Hopefully not. But it does have to go sometime soon. But let's check in with TM's coach, Cyclone, who is standing by with Hingers.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Cyclone, and I guess the casters were just talking then about how you got Galio, Sejuani, etc. A lot of engage coming from the Chiefs. So, what are you guys going to be doing to deal with those team fights?
Well, we've got a Fiora, and so we don't have to team fight.
Sure.
So any fights that we take
Disengage
should
and
be on
split
our
push.
terms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've seen quite a lot of the stuff come through in the meta recently, and we've been well aware that it's coming. So we'd like to imagine that we can pick the fights that we want and avoid the ones we don't.
All right. Then also just quickly give us a preview of Shock Zillion. He's known as a Zillion guy, but I mean, are you confident he can take the Swiffer?
So we were in practice tool before the game, and he hasn't played Zillion in practice tool before, and he was just running around bombing everything. He had about 20 bombs on the ground at once, and he's loving life.
All right.
So yeah, he's feeling good.
TikTok Shock. All right. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for speaking to us, and best luck in the game.
Thank you.
There we go. We just heard from Cyclone, but I love him a lot. He's asked some great questions, but Ejim is playing Mukau Alistar, and that has not been pointed out enough. Stop it.
And it's so funny because
No.
I don't know if you guys saw the power rankings between Ejim and T-Gun. But T-Gun was not a fan of Ejim's jumpsuit color choice. Didn't like it. So
It's not.
Swiffer actually sticking around here.
Swiffer's looking to see if he can steal away some cheeky Raptors, but he's taking a lot of harass from Shock.
Certainly is.
Already down below
Razor's nearly
half
dead
health.
in the bottom lane as well, so that's good.
Very
All
early
around
trades.
Summoner's Rift right now. People are just going nuts.
I really like that coming out from Shock, though. Defends the jungles, means that Spooks doesn't get a very big leash. I don't really know he did. He started red, so did get a leash from Swiper before moving towards his Raptor camp. And bottom lane does seem like there was a bit of a scuffle between the two 80 carries. Both had half health. Doran's Blade Start coming out from low. Doran's Shield from Raze.
Yeah, and we heard from this yesterday. This is just, you know, support based. Oh, Shock!
Shock in trouble. Force of Ice Ray. That auto attack from a minion. Almost able to take him down, but what the
How
heck
the heck
happened
does
there?
a Galio force you out of lane?
He saw a splash as well.
I don't understand, Fish. Must have
And-
hit him with a knockup. He's got the E, the Justice Punch or whatever the heck it's called.
Yeah, Shock, he chunked out Swiffer so much. You can just see how much the veteranship from the mid laner is really coming into play so far in this game. Spooks during this time is able to pick up his blue buff. And that lane is completely reversed.
And I mean, we saw yesterday when this Sejuani was picked up that it got very heavily punished in its early clear this time. Certainly hasn't been the case. Only has gone buff to buff himself. It's allowed Spooks to get unharassed to both camps. See whether that continues or whether any invade does come in.
Schoenfly played the matchup really well.
Phenomenally.
The rest of his team, not so much. And Spooks is looking for a gank in the mid lane.
Oh.
Taunt lands. There's no flash barrel for the Zillion. And TikTok Shock falls for first blood, picked up by Swiffer.
Yeah, you know, all of a sudden response gank in the top lane, so I'll just hold my thought.
Swiper will just jump away and
Nice return.
lay
damage.
the pain down onto Only.
I mean, only relieves some pressure, and that is pushing in. So Praedyth has got a CS advantage. He's up by 1 CS already, and there's an extra, 4 in his lane. But at the same time, I just don't understand how you die against Galio at this stage of the game.
Yeah, that early. Just a lot of questions being thrown towards the Zillion here. And again, Swiffer able to trade quite effectively there, despite the fact that he's going to go back to base now. 26 CS to 12. Shock was only able to go back to base, pick up a double ring. Meanwhile, we had Spooks looking to try and take Goodness sake. Raz twinning the insane
Raz,
appreciate my
you wear
pajamas. They're not pajamas!
Cravats. You can't throw shade in the style game when you wear cravats, Raz.
I've completely lost my train of thought. Spooks did some sort of invade thing. I think T-Gun stopped him.
Yeah, certainly did. He got the big Krug, and then T-Gun chased him out.
Swiffer's used his teleport, get back into lane. So we have 4 teleports on the Rift in this game. Neither top laner has used theirs just yet.
Probably is important to note, however, that Swiffer has the ultimate that's about to become available, and Shock rotates incredibly quickly. I mean, all the speed up that comes out of the Zillion.
Shock is a level down at the moment, so hopefully we'll be able to catch up shortly. Both junglers just
Ooh.
trading their sides of the map, but
Here
only
we
will
go.
be caught
Only's
out by
gonna be
Swiffer.
caught.
Turns around, looking to take up all the chickens. Gets knocked up. Taunt will come out shortly as well. Swiffer locks him down. Spook's is going to try and come in. No flash available for Sejuani, but they blow Only's flash.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just as good, right? All of a sudden, there's a big CS advantage in the mid lane. Being able to force Only out of that side of the jungle means that there's very little threat. Now an engage.
Big knockup from Ejim. Doesn't get the stun proc. 1 auto attack away from it.
Not enough bells. Don't you hate it when the bells just don't... But, of course, talk about Alistar a little bit. His E has now been changed. If you get enough damage in the trample, then you do get the auto attack stun. It's important to note because we took the heal off that and turned it into his passive. Wants him here.
Ooh, knocks him out of the Dark Passage, so Lowe's forced the rocket jump away. Good damage. Ignite is ticking. Ray's going to flash forward. Lowe's going to go down, and Ejim picks up that kill.
Yeah, and the perfect player, as he's known in solo queue, Ray's able to get that done. Big trades coming in the mid lane as well, as Swiffer actually very low, needs to respect only, although flashless and doesn't have the ultimate available. So probably actually doesn't have enough to kill him. Swiffer does, however, back away from the lane.
Shock now has hit level 6, so it makes it even harder for Galio to take him down, but he's done it once before in this lane. Only looking to see if he can push out this lane with Zilean. But still, big play in the bottom lane. Great cancel from Ejim, knocking knocking Low out of the Lantern.
And you can see that across Summoner's Rift, I mean, big creep scores starting to be built up for the Chiefs members. Top lane, that's even. We expected it to be slightly hard lane because the Gnar isn't going to do all that great in Mega Gnar, but at the same time, everywhere else has gold advantages for the Chiefs.
How does that matchup go? Because we know Fiora at 2 to 3 items does very well in most matchups. Against Gnar, though, who will have the Frozen Mallet, has great mobility, can stay in range from. Is it still the same story as against like a Galio?
I think you're just going to have to pick your windows, right? Galio's always just a beefy tank that you can take out. When Gnar's like this is generally when he's got a lot of power in other lane matchups, but gut feel against the Fiora is as soon as he goes Mega, he actually has to be a little bit more cautious. We'll see whether that is actually the case. You can see right now, Gorm Boots 2. I like Boots 2 Rush in any kind of aggressive matchup into you. It mitigates everything, and it also gives you more AD in a way because you get more auto attacks in, just because of the speed benefit. You can see that now that Ejim was out of the lane, they go for a trade down bot. Unfortunately, for Low, he still doesn't win it, even though it was a 2v1. Absolutely no idea what happened there, Fish.
Ray's doing perfectly fine. Ejim's clearing out wards in the river. They even have Spooks rotating around. He has not been spotted out by any wards. Decides not to check red buff, instead paths straight towards bottom lane. He'll now be spotted out, but instead they've jumped straight onto Tegan. He has flash available, but they get stunned up. Raze will pull back to support. Good hook by Tegan, though. Still get locked down. Galio's coming in for the fight as well. Tower dive from the Chiefs. Easy pick up on the kill to TM support.
Yeah, and this is why I kind of disagreed with Cyclone's analysis of his draft, is because you don't get to pick when you fight against an Alistar, Sejuani, Galio. I don't care how good your split push is. You still have to fight when they jump on you. Don't have enough disengage built into this team composition. You can see that with the damage mitigation that came out of Swiffer, as well as the ability to continually chase, that was a great hook out of danger by Tegan, followed up by the flash, and he still just wasn't far enough away.
Just like that, the Chiefs already acquired about 2,500 gold of a lead. Swiffer's going to pick up blue buff for himself, donated over by Spooks.
Very defensive build out of Swiffer. We saw actually the Rod of Ages picked up by Fantix yesterday. Swiffer at the same time has gone Merc Tread's double ring into what is probably going to be the Abyssal Mask. So definitely differing thoughts on how they want to play out with their Galios. Must say I did not like the roller out of Fantix yesterday.
He was still a big rock, but as soon as any of the AD carries got on top of the Galio, he was just lights out for Fantix. Meanwhile, Shock's going to be able to pick up his blue buff as well. Haven't seen too much from Resilient play so far, and it's something he's known for. Swiper looking to try and steal that away. Forces a smite.
Yep.
It's not a good situation. Meanwhile, Ejim, he's getting angry at Tegan. Making sure he backs away. Instead, settles for a pink ward. Tegan's not very happy about that.
See where they drop another pink ward on top of it, because they do have pink wards to spare here. Spooks has picked up 2. Ejim's still got 1. Instead, they just wait for the plant to spawn. I mean, that's good patient play out of the Chiefs, and they're controlling this bottom side of the river. In fact, Ejim hasn't been down there. Now there's a... Ooh, let's hold that thought.
And it's a small game coming out top lane. Only goes for the body slam flash, knocks Swiper away, and suddenly there's teleports coming to top lane because Spooks is here too. Throws out the frozen domain. Will slow it down quite a bit, but no stuns coming through. Taunt only lands onto Only. Swiper is throwing boulders at them. Will pick up the first kill. Swiffer knocks him down. Shock is up here as well, but can't do too much except for throw these time bombs
And
at
look
the
at
Chiefs.
how much presence they have around Summoner's Rift. Now 2v2 bottom lane. Ray's in trouble.
He's going to get taken down. Can Egypt get a return kill? He gets so much AD from an ultimate. Still trampling through, flashes for it, gets the final auto attack. Egypt, Aligod turns the trade around 1-for-1.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's still good for Shock. Oh, actually, it's not still good for Shock because I was going to say he picked up the kill versus Egypt. He did not, however. T-Gun can keep the lane here, so they do get the creep advantage. Swiffer continuing to have a lot of presence in this mid lane. And the Chiefs, 3,000 gold up at only 10 minutes in. Looking pretty dominant. And the desk mentioned it. I mean, the Korean boot camp, bringing Jish back from the Immortals. This team needed to have a good split. And had not been having the best split so far. They lost out to Direwolves in week 1 in what was a close 2-1. But now finally showing that they are getting back into some form. Because TM was looking good coming into this match.
They were. There were quite a few analysts thinking that TM could pick up a game here today, and I think no matter what the outcome of this first match is, it's still the case. They've been looking like a very strong squad recently, picking up single game victories against some of the top teams.
Only is up in experience. So level 8 to level 7, but you can see the dive is again coming out down
They
there.
lock down low. That's going to be an easy kill. Only throws out the ultimate. Spooks may fall for this. Galio's coming in. Gets a heal. No flash being burnt.
Yeah, so take the shorter cooldown. They want to push for first turret, which is why they still bring Swiffer down. Shock not going to be able to clear out that lane. Instead, he is teleporting in. 3 members here, so the Chiefs probably have to get the heck out of dodge, Fish.
Yeah. Only was looking for an engage there. Body slam came out. Tegan still chasing for a hook. Winds of Wards will stop him from moving any further forward. TM do successfully defend a turret, but lose a lot of tempo in doing so. Top lane, Praetor in trouble. He's going to get locked down by Swiper. Throws out a
Good
boulder,
flash.
misses. Praetor now should be able to pick up this one-on-one. Pops to Tiamat, slides on further forward, and gets the solo kill against Swiper.
And Swiper smiles, but Praetor absolutely styled on him. I mean, that is a fantastic flash. He's able to turn it around, takes a sip of his drink, cool, calm, and collected out of one of the youngest members of the OPL. And Praetor, I mean, he should take a bow. That was actually very nice play.
And I think that's 2 weeks of the OPL in a row that he's picked up a one-on-one outplay in the top lane. Praetor looking on form on this Fiora. Swiper seems very confident going into that one, but as soon as
Certainly
that
did.
ball
I mean, he
connect-
started that fight. Let's have a look at it. He's the person chasing in. He probably went for his cheeky hop as well. And Praetor, I mean, as soon as that happens, you should have the kill technically. Swiper just takes an extra turret shot for no reason. And Praetor, silky smooth mechanics, able to get around him. He's proxying the wave out as well now.
Yep. As soon as Nam misses one of those cues, not great, but yeah, we just gave you a lot of confidence, Praetor. Not sure what you're doing there. I thought that was your turret.
Cool.
Remind me never to speak good about our players again. Only's going to get frozen up halfway through a jump. Can't take the red buff away from Spooks. He'll just pick it up for himself instead.
Spook's looking pretty decent on the Sejuani. I liked what I was speaking to Carbon, smart man, earlier today. Went to gym with him. He was saying that he likes Cinder Hulk into Hunter's Potion. Means you pretty much never have to go back. You clear quick enough with the Cinder Hulk, and then you're just able to keep yourself sustained both mana and health wise with the Hunter's Potion. Of course, getting the charge backs every time you do a camp.
Should see the Warmogs coming out from Spooks shortly after. As soon as he gets the 3 items of Sejuani, he just becomes an unstoppable tank.
Yeah, it's not even 3, it's kind of 2. Like, as soon as you have Warmogs, I think you have 3,300 health. And then you get the Gargoyle Stoneplate on top of that Fish, and I think you have about 7,000 health. So,
Just throwing a locket afterwards for good measure.
yeah, completely agree.
Mid lane again, it's the same story.
Ooh.
Swiffer just keeps doing this, and there's nothing
Oh.
Shock can do.
Of course, the passive of Galio gets reduced by 3 seconds if you're able to land your abilities. So that's why you got 2 of his ground slams in there.
It's disgusting. Top lane, the same brawl taking place between Swiper and Praetor. Swiper will turn Mega and force the Fiora to back off for now.
He only needs to be a little bit more conservative in Mega though, Fish. I mean, you can... Well, that's a wall. You don't go through those. I feel like you have to respect the fact that Fiora has great trading potential on any tank that is melee. And as Gnar, even though you spend a lot of the game annoying as mini Gnar, throwing out boomerangs, you're a glorified Teemo, you do go to a tanky form at some points in the game, and I think that's when Fiora does really start winning this matchup.
Well, the Chiefs are trying to push their advantage here by taking an Elemental Dragon for themselves. 3,400 gold in the lead.
But hats off to TM. TM Gaming have been able to stem this gold disadvantage in the last couple of minutes at least. But you can see now, maybe not going to be the case. T-Gun has cheated back a long way.
gets a Dark Passage to Low, who immediately jumps away. Chiefs now have their eyes set towards bottom lane outer. Only is pinging out the Rift Herald and starts at that objective.
I mean, that's a brave call. Swiffer can get up there. Nah can certainly get involved. If he ticks level 11 especially, he must be close on experience. Instead, it looks like they're happy to let that one go. Instead, looking to pressure mid and bottom lane turret.
Here it comes.
Although now they ping it out.
Swiper is in Mega Gnar, so a bit threatening in a 2-on-1 at the moment, with Smash with Galio close by. They pulled them off Rift Herald, so mission accomplished from the Chiefs. They get an Elemental Dragon for
I mean, they get the best of both worlds. They get Elemental Dragon priority on this bottom lane turret. T-Gun wants Raze here.
But Ejim's right behind him, combos him. We'll get the knock up as well. No stun coming through, but Galio's charging on down. Ejim tanking up this turret as much as possible. Hook does land onto Raze. He's in trouble, forced to flash away, and teleports are coming down into the bottom lane. Spook's forced to jump out. He's going to try and slide away. Praetor wants to come defend this turret as well. That unlocks Swiper in the top lane. But TM defend the turret again.
Yeah, they defend the turret one more time. The gold lead in the bottom lane is not growing. It's still only a 20 CS advantage. Raze had to burn the flash there. Now they're all behind low, however.
Oh, gets locked down by the frozen bowler that came out. Ejim changes his target towards Tegan, gets a double knockout, wins a war, shredding through the bottom lane duo. Ejim gets another stun charge, pulled away by Raze to drop turret aggro, gets back to safety. Clean turret dive by the Chiefs.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, that time there wasn't the patient there out of TM. They weren't able to punish elsewhere on the map. They felt like the game was slipping away, but instead of, backing away, they give up 2 kills as well as a turret. And now it is nearly 6,000 gold, and the Chiefs really hit the accelerator there, Fish.
He certainly did. Shock's trying to do what he can to chip away at mid lane outer turret. Praetor has moved back into the top lane with Ravenous Hydra, but Swiper's still bullying him.
Yeah, Ravenous Hydra. I actually don't mind the pickup. I think the idea would be that you're going to get bullied so much in Mini-Gnar form that you need some form of lifesteal. And then as soon as he goes Mega, you're probably going to win it regardless of what item he has, because he's not going to build armor initially. So I actually like the build out of Praetor. Obviously very practiced in the matchup. Nar's been terrorizing solo queue at the moment, so I'm sure he's played it.
Let's see, Bladder and King's already been picked up by Raze as well. That's a big spike for the Kalista with Frozen Mallet unlocked already by Swiper. Chiefs are just trying to control every part of Summoner's Rift. Make sure that TM are always on their toes.
And you can see that they swapped the map on its head. They want to be able to give Raze some farm in the bottom lane, in the mid lane. Don't want him to have to go towards the long bottom lane. So instead, Gnar gets sent down there. Galio goes to the top lane. This is a pretty good 1-3-1 comp as long as they can keep the Fiora away from Galio.
Low fancies a fight against Swiper. He's not doing any damage to the Gnar at the moment. Swiper is more than happy to trade up against the Tristana. Tegan makes his way down, makes his presence felt, and only is looking to try and wrap around to go for a turret dive against Swiper.
Swiper is Mega at the moment, so should be a pretty difficult dive to go for. Level 11, and he has pretty good wave clear as well, Fish. So you can see they back away. They just want to get chip damage here. Shock is going to do an okay job of holding mid lane turret. He's got his roller as well as a couple of Doran's rings. IE nearly finished up for low. Goes towards his Zeal item beforehand, however.
There they go, charging on towards Tegan.
Tegan
Swiper's going to take a lot of damage. Both
Yeah.
the hook and the flame miss. That calls off the gank from Only.
Yeah, that should have probably been a kill. Now there's 3 members collapsing topside, and you're going to have to be very slippery here, Praetor, if you want to live.
Not quite. He's now going to get jumped on by Raze. Pops away the Rune King. Good riposte, but doesn't do anything. Ejim just immediately uses his own abilities, and Raze picks up an easy kill onto the Fiora.
Yeah, it certainly does, and this is kind of the Chiefs' game plan at the moment. They want to be able to get Raze fed. They want him to have a lot of the gold and be able to carry. So you can see so much of the attention so far has been into Raze lane. They're going to look to trade up here. They've got a kill as well as pushing for a turret. TM did take bottom lane turret, so they've got an advantage here. See whether they can get a second turret, Fish, or whether that's where it stops. Because if it does, then the Chiefs are going to be able to take Rift Herald and the extra kill.
They're already working on Rift Herald. They've taken our top lane outer turret. Raze is still split pushing. Spooks just takes Rift Herald down by himself. So they'll have a turret in their back. They will have a turret in their back pocket in the form of that objective.
Please smite it. No, he's just going to fight it to the death.
But that's opened up the gold lead again. Now 6,000 gold in favor of the Chiefs. Shock is in trouble. He's out of mana too. Ejim's looking to try and collapse. Can't get there in time. fact, flashes on forward, gets a double knock-up. Galio's charging it as well. Shock's going to be the first one to fall. Pops his ultimate just in time. Low now trying to get away.
Got
Big three-man taunt from Swiper. Uppercut doesn't connect in time. Only hits Tegan, who locks him back underneath the turret. Might get a return kill for TM here. Low's looking for it. Flashes into the taunt. Gets the shot down. Now Ejim, without his ultimate, incredibly squishy. Brayden slides in. Double kill picked up by Low.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I agree with that Taro dive there coming out of the Chiefs. They dive with their 3 tanks and none of their carries. So a little bit strange execution coming out. And they're going to lose a mid lane turret for this, and TM going to get themselves back within 3,000 gold.
Which is exactly where they went when they stopped the bleeding, so potentially could try to claw their way back into the game from here. Still, good plays coming out from Tegan, blocking the uppercut from Swiffer, hooking him back, making sure he's staying underneath the turret. But it was an impressive flash taunt from Swiffer, connecting on all 3 members.
Sometimes when you get a 3-man taunt, you just have to take it. But then other times, you have to remember that you do no damage as a tank. And Swiffer, of course, would be used to playing carry mid lane. This has been a while since he was on, you know, the Lulu Karma kind of supportive style. Galio, different again from that. I mean, really only the Nautilus mid that we saw briefly is anything similar to the Galio mid that we now see.
Well, Malphite mid. Bring back the Malphites.
Weren't they pure AP or like penetration at least?
That's pure AP Malphites. Dragon gets picked up again, so second Ocean Dragon for the Chiefs.
That was just keen. A man out after my own heart. Low in some trouble here.
Doesn't use his W yet. He's able to walk back safely.
Yeah, Raze looked like he didn't want that one. Ulti, of course, still available for the clock. So he would have been able to come back alive there, Low. He has fallen down 40 CS, but was able to grab some money off the turret. Dying, as well as, you know, the 2 kills that he picked up. So he's on his way to his first 2 items and definitely becoming relevant.
Now, Rift Tower's been used
Mid
in
lane.
the mid lane by Spooks, so Chiefs looking to push for this mid lane altar. That's going to fall. 1 charge should be enough. And raises the rest of damage to follow up.
See whether it gets a second charge off.
Going for a fight almost. Shock taking some damage. Ejim did not have the charges enough to stun him up. Does get a second charge, gets some chip damage, which is always worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, generally you only get, you know, a turret and potentially a charge. So getting that charge in is certainly a good thing. Swiffer wants the fight here.
Puts some damage down onto Praetor. He procs 1 vital and just slides
no
away.
damage, yep.
Swiffer doesn't care.
I mean, if he had have ultied, Swiffer definitely would have cared. Didn't have flash as well, Praetor did. I think that was actually a fight that Praetor could have taken. But he didn't know where the rest of the Chiefs members were.
And Praetor's going towards Trinity Force again on his Fiora. So not opting for the Ravenous Hydra into Black Cleaver build.
And I mean, Ravenous Hydra now makes even more sense as a rush item, because Trinity Force is incredibly expensive and you need some time in a side lane. So I think that that's certainly now a very good rush item for him. You can see Swiper is going towards the Black Cleaver as his next item, looking to shred some of that armor. I would be interested to see who wins the out-and-out split push right now. I still think it is Praetor, but this is a stage of the game where Gnar is arguably at his strongest. Spooks is about 600 gold away from the Warmogs as well. You can see 3,100 health.
You'd have to assume Chiefs are waiting for a couple more major items before they start picking their fights again. Especially with Baron up and available to be taken 23 minutes into the game.
X-Drinker being picked up by Young Rays.
Ooh, trying to stay alive. Swiper gets some good damage on the Praetor. Praetor tries to turn around with the ultimate. Swiper hugging the wall, which means that final proc's not going to go down. But is it enough? He hops away. Praetor flashes forward. It's going to get that second proc. Looks for the vitals. And again, he's outplayed Swiper one-on-one. The rest of the Chiefs will come down. They pick up the revenge kill. But Praetor's absolutely styling on Swiper.
Certainly is, and you have to wonder why Swiper actually took his back off that wall. Would have been able to win the fight. Swiffer, no flash, 4 members hitting him. It's going to take a long time, Fish, but eventually the man will fall down.
Eventually, he's trying his best to fight this one out, and that's just disgusting to watch. 4 members of TM took so long to take down this Galio.
But it's still a trade up. I mean, it's a 2-for-1 trade. 4,000 gold is still the lead for the Chiefs, but they're losing in this split push. I think purely because of the mistake made by Swiper that time. And at the same time, you have to think that they've also lost a little bit of priority on the map by sending 3 members down there to try and clean up that mess.
And again, Swiper just keeps going for these one-on-one plays instead of backing off after getting the chunk of health against Praetor. who's going to be pretty happy with his performance so far. If he keeps getting these trades against Swiper, it's going to make the split pushing duties of Swiffer and Swiper a lot more difficult. But Swiper has picked up his Frozen Mallet and Black Cleaver, so can now start to stack his resistances a little bit more effectively.
Yep. Probably going to go towards the Stone Plate next. Of course, double resistance on the item is just absolutely bonkers. See whether the armor actually makes a big deal.
We've seen a lot of tanks in the top lane who go for these major health offensive items. First, opt out of the Stone Plate third, going for GA or Spirit Visage,
Yeah.
sometimes an adaptive helm. So curious to see if Swiper goes more towards the traditional routes.
Yeah, Adaptive Helm would make no sense in this game. I could see Spirit Visage working if he thinks that he's going to be team fighting a little bit more, although only really Shock doing the AP damage. So I think that, you know, either a Randuin's or that Stone Plate is certainly the right choice, at least for this stage of the game.
Training course has been completed by Praetor as well. We're still on 7.13, so no changes to Thornmail just yet. No major tank item changes either. Not going to see either of those picked up. Chiefs are starting up a very cheeky Baron. Spotted out.
Did Raze miss the hop over the wall there?
I believe so.
Yep, so that Baron was going to fail even if it wasn't spotted out. He wasn't going to be able to get in there, and Spooks can't solo it. So unfortunate for the Chiefs members. I do think that they can just force Baron here, however. They have big tanks, and they have... Oh, here we go.
We're going in. Ejim's looking for this one. Does get flayed back by Tegan, but good slow coming out of Raze. Pulls back Ejim.
Yeah.
They force the flash out of Tegan.
And I think, I mean, as I said, you've got so many big tanks. They're going to be able to put the sticks into it. There's no real way that you challenge for this objective. You can see Spooks even smites at the start of the fight to get it down lower, because they're just going to trust that Raze can pull the twigs out and hurt everyone.
Well, they're calling upon Praetor to teleport into this lane. He already did a good job split pushing. Only jumps in. Knocks Raze back. He's already used his QSS. And Praetor's on top of the AD carry. Look at the other side of the fight, though. Big taunts coming out from Galio. Now jumping towards the side of his AD carry. Raze somehow able to outduel the duelist herself. Tegan's now running for the hills, and TM retreat away from this team fight. Chiefs will turn this one around. Tegan's going to be the next one to fall, and it's a 2-for-1 trade to kick things off.
Yeah, and as I said, I mean, I just don't agree that you can afford to disengage and not fight this Chiefs lineup, because they've got such a beefy front line. You can see the two members dive onto Raze. It was both Only and Praetor, and Swiffer just keeps them at bay. And Raze is able to dance around, get the twigs in, and this is going to be a free Baron.
Let's see if TM can do anything about it. Shock's trying to stop this. Only is close by. Ejim in some trouble, but getting chained CC'd here is the Zillion. Good stun. Can't help against the Baron buff that is picked up against the Chiefs. And I'm really curious to see, where did Shock use his ultimate in that fight?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious as well. Was going to mention it, but I mean, you just have to think that when you're fighting on two big fronts like that, that's really not how Zillion wants to set up anyway. Zillion wants a front line that can take the bombs into the back line, and, you know, you're going to be able to bring back either a huge tanky frontliner if, you know, the team fight's going well, or put it onto a carry and give them a second chance at doing some damage in the fight.
So it was a big knockback from Only, forcing the flash out of Raze, and immediately Praetor jumped straight on top of the AD carry. That should have been game over. But didn't happen. Galio was able to get to his rescue just in time. Spooks deciding not to go for any resistances just yet. He's picked up a Righteous Glory on his Sejuani.
I mean, it has armor.
Gives armor now and some CDR.
Yep, 10% crit average. So certainly an okay item, and you can see that they just want to force fight after fight. That is all this lineup wants to do now.
Don't hop. Don't hop, Swiper, or you're going to die.
Yep, you're exactly right. As if he uses a crunch, he's going to be in big trouble.
Praetor sees him use the Q and decides to jump straight on top of the Gnar. Then Swiper decides to jump away, make sure he gets back to safety. Baron buff is available for most of the Chief members, but it was only Swiper that doesn't have the buff.
Yep, correct. And I think that they can just Righteous Glory at this turret if they really want to.
Let's see if they do. Swiper does have teleport. Shock's going to back away, throwing out time bombs. Low is trying to get as many auto attacks as possible. Praetor's looking for a flank, and so is Only. Spooks jumps in. Teleport's coming in from the Gnar. They lock down Ejim, but he's an Alistar. He doesn't care about damage at the moment.
And you can see that the Chiefs are very much valuing being together, because as soon as Swiper loses priority, doesn't get to that mid lane turret on time, he actually burns the TP, so the fight doesn't start before him. This squad is only strong if they have all 5 members on the same screen. Ultimate going in, hits the AD carry.
He's forced to W away, gets back to safety, but now Swiffer wants to jump in as well. Taunt Not going to connect. Good body block from Only. Chiefs change their priority towards the inhibitor turret. Only throws out his ultimate to separate the team, but that turret is still going to get taken down. Instead, Praetor looking to the back line. Spooks is very low. Swiffer taking up all by himself. Praetor got a kill to Swiffer. So that means, Spooks, that means it's going to be a 4 on 5, and the Chiefs health bars are low. But look at Raze. He's hopping into the back lines already. He's already got 1 kill. QSS is out of the hook. Tiga's now in trouble. So many spears connecting, and their AD carry is being punted around by an Alistar. Double kill picked up by them. TM only have their top lane and jungler alive.
Yeah, exactly right. And Only has had to head for the hills. They can keep the 1 creep alive with Swiffer's huge, tanky Galio and look to end this game.
They knock down the resistance of that turret by keeping that single minion alive. Finally, Only will kill it out, but as the damage dealt, it seems like it. Swiffer's even going back to base, teleporting on top of a ward to get on top of this one, and Raze just dances around, putting damage into Praetor. Galio jumps on in. Raze goes dominating. Nard jumps into the fight, and that's going to be game 1 going to the Chiefs.
And I mean, I think Carbon kind of said it the best. 3 members of the Chiefs went to Korea. The 2 they left behind, they're playing like absolute superstars. Swiper solo killed twice in that game. Ejim actually had a pretty solid performance, as did Spooks on their tanky members. But really, that Galio being able to pick up the solo kill nearly in the mid lane, and the fact that Quinn, Raze, on the Kalista, had the dancing shoes on. Yeah, shakes his head. So much for punishing him.
Rightfully so, Swiper.
I mean, gave him his best champion, and Praetor killed him twice.
And it's week after week. Praetor is really impressing us on TM. I mean, he's been a lot less greedy with his teleports recently. He had a good game of Fiora then, but TM just kind of falling apart again just from small plays.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, I didn't like the Zilean in the end. I could understand the place in the comp because you've got a huge hyper carry AD carry, and then like if you want Fiora to be able to team fight, she needs some help from either, you know, a Lulu or a Karma. In this case, it was a Zilean. But it just didn't work out the way they wanted it to. And at the same time, they had no one that could cut through what was 3 super tanks. Alistar with the ulti, Galio, I mean, Sejuani. Nah, as the game progressed, would have got tankier as well. I mean, there was just so many Chiefs members that you had to kill, and they weren't able to get through one of them, let alone 4 fish. Yeah, 4 super tanks.
Seems like they're really relying on Tristana to do that job for them, but she just didn't. Low didn't get the ball rolling early enough.
I mean, if that's the case, if Tristana is the person that you're putting all your eggs in, you need to camp for the lane. Only needs to be down there all the time. Instead, it was actually Low that was getting camped out by Spooks and Swiffer ulting in there. And League of Tanks has definitely arrived, maybe even a patch early to League of Legends.
And as much as Swiper really loves that patch, he's still getting solo killed, which is a little bit unfortunate. But for now, to break down that game further, let's throw it back to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Fish and Spawn. Well, do you feel like Swipe was able to punish Praetor in that game? Well, that was the punishment. Was it dished out or was it...
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, rough game.
Yeah, rough
I
game for
didn't
Vic
think
Swift.
he played awful. Like Swiper didn't play that bad. Like he did get solo killed, but like
Twice.
they were pretty close. They were pretty close both times. Like I think the second one at bot lane was 1 auto away, and the one at top lane, I think if he had narred him into the wall as opposed to trying to gnar him out of tower range, so that he would have killed him as well. So. Like, just small misplays by Swiper. I think he definitely, I don't think it was a bad decision that he made trying to all in.
But then again, good job to Praetor to do his job as Fiora.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, I know that game was was pretty one-sided for most of it, but Choo-Choo's, I know that you felt it kind of turned and fell out of team's hands very, very early.
Yeah, I mean, they picked Zilean, so ultimately they were supporting the Tristana a lot, and this really, he gets interrupted by the headbutt Pulverize and realizes that I no longer have my jump, I'll need to flash to get out of here. He flashes too late and dies to the last tick of the Ignite, which is probably one of the worst ways to die. And this really was kind of the turning point for me, because this is their comp. It's built around Tristana to get ahead, to farm, not necessarily get ahead, but just farm well. And
so hit 3 items.
Yeah, and that death, because he flashed late, it really hurt them in that laning phase.
Yeah, kind of just gets stuck on the fat part of the wall, and then he gets his shit cancelled by the knock-up. Like Lantern cancelled, and he wasn't prepared for that. And I think he just panicked.
But after he jumps, you're saying he could have flashed instantly off the back of the jump.
He turned for the...
As a pro player,
Alistar stunned.
Yes, as a pro player, if the Lantern gets cancelled and you realize my only way to get out of this situation is my jump, your jump isn't enough a lot of the time. Like Lucian dash or any kind of escape isn't usually enough. So you immediately have to flash. If he recognized that as soon as he jumped, then he would have lived. But he got followed up by the Alistar stun and then died to the Ignite.
I feel like that was kind of the tail of this game. like, because the same thing happened at mid. Like, Shock, I don't know how, we didn't see it on the,
Yes,
on the
we
screen,
actually
but
have-
Shock got chunked to like 1 bar somehow at level 2 by a Galio.
And then didn't back.
And then didn't base,
Didn't
burned his,
back.
like, he did flash,
Yeah.
but like,
And then just played around.
sat in-
taunt-
like, he had
played around
TP.
taunt range. Yes.
he had
yes.
TP,
It's
he
just
just
greedy,
sat
it's
in
just
lane.
greedy play.
So
It's
I feel
ultimately
like
just
mid
greedy
and
play.
bot, the same thing happened. Like, they're just a bit too greedy or like not quick enough and just got punished hard.
Moving on to the mid game, Carbon. I know you had some interesting thoughts on the Baron replay we're about to show, and I mean, should Chiefs have turned earlier than this?
I like
do
that they're starting this.
Yeah.
They want to force a team fight. They know they're way ahead. They have this huge comp. Like, they're not going to take any damage from starting the Baron. So I think this is a good idea by them. Like, but the problem is, well, the only problem from Chiefs' perspective is this: is that Callista gets 1 shot. Well, not. She's almost 1
Gets
shot, and I
chucked
think
out,
Praedyth really messed up by not parrying this. Like, the fact that he missed it and that Raze just got to kill him. I think if Raze had died at the start of that fight, that Fiora could have cleaned up because they did manage to kill the Gnar on the other side. But Chiefs ultimately just too far ahead. I think it was a good call to start the fight, and that pretty much broke the game
I'd
open.
also give a big shout out to Swiffer. He was the only one that peeled his AD carry, and he hit a 2-man taunt. And if he didn't hit that taunt, then Fiora had
Free
Fiora had
reign.
free reign really
Yeah.
over Callista. So I'm
Yeah.
surprised that he was the only one of his team to recognize that.
Yeah.
You just think that's the thing about Callista. She gets real low, and you think she's going to die, and then it's just so much life stealing.
Well, that's the thing. Like, the thing with Callista, and shouts out for the early Merc Scimitar. I thought that was a pretty good buy because, the only way he could die is if he got stun locked like that. And what you saw is only one person peeling. Like, imagine if like all of the Chiefs were concentrating on peeling that Callista. There was no way she was going to die,
Yeah.
and she would have rinsed that entire team fight. So, look, I think it was a really good game by the Chiefs. I think all their lanes pretty much just won 1v1, other than obviously top. But Chiefs made sure that Fiora didn't get out of control by applying some pressure with their bot lane and their jungler.
Well, let's talk a bit about the draft going into this. I feel like TM banning their first 3 bans were Taliyah, Rakan, and Elise, which suggests to me that they're not focusing anyone. They're just sort of afraid of everyone coming from the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, Taliyah's a champion that I know TM has struggled, especially Tommy, especially Sin's mid laner Rama. His Taliyah is kind
Destroyed
of
him.
kind
real
of
good,
like
though.
scarred
It's real
them.
good.
So now they're just banning that champion, and the Elise just seems like a threat. I'm surprised they banned it though, because
yeah,
I'm
it
pretty
doesn't make any sense to me.
I know that you really favor Only's Elise.
I mean, I guess, okay, I can understand in the sense that, like, they want Elise off the table so that they can open up the Thresh first pick without worrying about Chiefs picking Elise.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, if you're on blue side and you have a good Elise player, like, I think they should just force Chiefs to ban it or just take it. Because only on the Gragas was almost non-existent, that game.
That's actually what else I wanted to bring up. That I don't want to. I really think Only is too much of a carry threat, and his play on the Gragas really just didn't impact the map whatsoever.
Yeah.
There was one player in top lane where he attempts to do the combo on Gnar, but doesn't play around the flash.
He was just he was just way too, like, he hit the
hit
body
the
slam
combo.
and he was just way too slow on the barrel.
He was too slow. He needed to be faster on
yeah, it was just
on the barrel.
Just miss micro, that's all.
We have
But,
we have a tweet in here from Dale Preble. Thank you for tweeting in, asking, is the lack of AP damage from the Chiefs draft an oversight, or is Galio enough in most games? He continues,
It was
Solid, he
definitely
always
enough.
wants mixed damage.
It was definitely enough.
Yeah.
Svetlani as well as Galio have really good base damage. These tanks are coming back into meta because, one, they're very tanky, huge front line, but they're...
The tanks are very tanky.
Yeah, well, like...
Great
they're-
analysis. I love it. Keep it
they're
coming.
they're a huge front line, and their base damage is enough. It's and also Zillion was... I don't know.
Well,
Zillion
yeah.
didn't really do any damage.
Just before
that
we
game.
touch on Zillion, like, the thing with the meta right now is that if you look at TM's comp, no one there is really going to build armor. Like, okay, maybe Chiefs are lacking. They don't have that much AP damage, but, like, Fiora's not about to start building Randuins. Like, Gragas, yes, he can go tanky, but no one else really is going to be tanky on that team. So the fact that they're mostly AD damage doesn't really matter.
Right.
Like, yeah, this Gragas would be a bit tankier than if they had a Victor, for example, but, like...
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the thing about drafting for full AD, or like you don't have much of one damage type, that doesn't matter. What matters is what the enemy can build against it. And if they can't build anything, then like you can draft whatever you want essentially.
If we're saying that Zillion was kind of irrelevant that game, which
Absolutely
which
irrelevant.
it was, is there a better comp that they could feasibly try and build around Shock, or is that just not an option?
I think
Orianna.
I don't think the draft has anything to do with it. I think they just played bad. Like, imagine if Shock just didn't get chunked to 1 bar.
Yes.
Imagine
Yeah.
if bot lane didn't just get 2v2 killed. You know, imagine if they got to the 15-minute mark where Zilean had 10 CS per minute and Trist had almost 10 CS per minute. And, you know, if, you know, their first big team fight, the Zilean bombs actually do damage. And Trist actually, you know, I think it would have been a completely different game. So I don't think the draft is where they need to improve for next game.
Yeah, I'm also very surprised at Only's damage. He only did 200 more damage than T-Gun.
He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
He wasn't. I saw him gank top. He tried to gank top once and didn't even body slam. And then the second time, he got the E flash off, which was really good. Then he was just too slow with the ult, and now manages to flash out. And other than that, it looked like he was just like farming in a tank v tank matchup. And I think that's one of Only's flaws is that like if the game is slow or if like he doesn't see easy opportunities, that like he just like defaults back into like farm mode, and then and that's absolutely like TM are never going to win if he does that. Like he has to impact the map.
So I mentioned this just as we came out of the game, but I want to talk more and more about Swiper v Praedyth in the top lane as we bring up a graphic, because I mean, despite the fact that Swiper had a pretty rough game, he did manage to stay, you know, kind of even with him a little bit, and actually beat him in gold. So.
Well, I mean, gold earned is like like you got to take in global gold.
Yeah.
And so like Swiper's getting all the gold from all the bot towers and the mid towers and everything else, whereas poor Praedyth isn't getting anything.
This matchup's actually really close. Yeah. And this next game, I'm surprised it'll be the same thing if they do give Praedyth another split pusher and then Swiper's forced to play another tank, maybe even Gnar again. Like I'd like to see this matchup again because I think they both misplayed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Swiper definitely like those two all-ins. I feel like Swiper chose good timings and then like
executed
microed microed poorly. And so I don't think he played bad necessarily. Well, like I suppose he did play bad in one aspect, but I thought he played well in another aspect.
You can tell that like he kind of really just wants that same match.
Yeah.
But like he wants another shot at it.
Yeah. I think he will do better next time.
Was that last fight at the end in mid going into the base, and then Praedyth survives, but it's because he like runs up lane away from the fight.
Yes,
and
you're
like,
the one minion.
That was so weird.
Is Praedyth going to split push away from this fight? Is that what's happening?
Well,
here?
okay, so
he's
like
cutting the wave. He had a good idea.
I thought it was way too early. Like he got Zilean altered, came back with full health. Kalista, like the Chiefs team fight was split. Kalista and someone else were like at the top of the base. The other guys were at the bottom of the base. He could have just re-engaged on the tanks. They weren't going to kill him. He was full health Fiora, but instead he just does the Praedyth thing, sees minions, and just runs straight at them.
Get a CS!
And
Get a CS!
Cutting the wave wasn't that bad an idea.
Yeah.
But like, he did miss that one minion, and Chiefs managed to corral it into the Nexus. So good move by the Chiefs.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right. So what do TM need to change to get back into this second game? I mean, if you think the draft isn't the problem, is it just get good and play better? Is that your advice to them going into game two?
My advice.
I don't want them to. I think TM's weakest lane is. Oh no. I don't want them to put too much resource into low.
Sure.
To me, it's risky. Ejim is very good at punishing enemy bot lane. The bot lane, especially when he gets a champion with hard CC like Rakan or Alistar.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see Shock go back to he's played really well on Orianna, or even Syndra. Like I'd like to see him go on with those two champions as well as only on a high impact jungler.
Yeah, for me, I think only is the big change. I think that draft looked okay to me, and it looked like a decent, like for their team. I thought it was also pretty good, so I don't think we should criticize them that much. I think that only on a more proactive champion in the early game, that could make a difference. But then again, he could also just play more proactively. Like it's not like Gragas can't gank, right? So like, I feel like they just play. I feel like they just play poorly.
More comfortable to impact the game with.
If they want to win the next game, they should just need to play a little bit better.
Is there anything that you want Chiefs to do differently, or I mean, you know, maybe they don't take that risky mid tower dive. Maybe they don't, you know.
Yes.
But basically, I feel like they played pretty well. Is there anything you want to see them do differently in game two?
Well, it's like when you get that far ahead, sometimes it's just
it's hard.
Like we just kill them whatever we do.
They essentially
just
ran bot and they just died.
Yeah, so like when you get in that mode of like, oh, these guys are just falling over every time we show ourselves, sometimes you just get a bit overzealous and it's just like, all right, well, let's do it. But look, to be honest, there wasn't really that much to criticize from the Chiefs. I mean,
I think the only thing I'd really point out is not putting too many members. Like, you don't need 4 people bot to take a 20%
that
health tower.
was a bit...
Just stay mid. Like, you know, you have like a 40 CS advantage. Keep the pressure there. Make sure Zilean can't roam. That's the only real suggestion I can give them.
Sure, but they did win pretty convincingly.
Besides that, solid
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hashtag IMOPL if you have any questions about this draft going into Game 2. That is our analysis of Game 1, though, so let us know. We'll be back with our analyst test after this game. But right now, let's see some highlights from Game number 1.
Ticking. Ray's going to flash forward. Lowe's going to go down, and Egypt picks up that kill.
Class.
Misses. Praetor now should be able to pick up this one-on-one. Hops to Tiamat, slides on further forward, and gets the solo kill against Swiper. And Egypt changes his target towards Tegan, gets a double knockout, wins a war, shredding through the bottom lane duo. Egypt gets another stun charge, pulled away by Raze to drop turret aggro, gets back to safety, clean turret time by the Chiefs. Low now trying to get away.
Got
Big three-man taunt from Swiper. Uppercut doesn't connect in time, only hits Tegan, who locks it back underneath the turret. Might get a return kill for TM here. Lowe's looking for it, flashes into the taunt, gets the shut down. Now Egypt without his ultimate, incredibly squishy. Praetor slides in, double kill picked up by Lowe. And a Swiper hugging the wall, which means that final proc's not going to go down, but is it enough? He hops away, Praetor flashes forward, it's going to get that second proc, looks for the finals, and again he's outplayed Swiper. Nox Raze back, he's already used his QSS, and Praetor's on top of the AD carry. Look at the other side of the fight though, big taunts coming out from Galio, now jumping towards the side of his AD carry. Raze somehow able to outduel the duelist herself. Tiga's now running for the hills, and TM retreat away from this team fight. Swiffer taking up all by himself. Praetor got a kill on the Swiffer, so that means, Spooks, that means it's going to be a 4-on-5, and the Chiefs health bars are low, but look at Raze, he's hopping into the back lines already. He's already got one kill. QSS is out on the hook. Tiga's now in trouble. So many spears connecting, and their AD carry is being punted around by an Alistar. Galio jumps on in. Raze goes dominating. Nard jumps into the fight, and that's going to be Game 1 going to the Chiefs. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Matthew Pajama.